All right, this is the final part of team03 where we write the end-to-end tests. In the previous video, we already got the branch set up and we are picking up in the instructions from, let me get back to them. Yeah, from this point right here, part 2.2, end-to-end test. So we've already dragged our issue on our Kanban board into in progress. You see it right here, end-to-end tests for commits. If I filter by my GitHub ID, I can see that's my in progress issue. So let's come back over here. Fixed that typo, by the way, UCSB Dining Commons menu item web IT. So that typo that was in the last video. We are now here for the end-to-end test. Oops, I thought I fixed that typo. Yes, I did. There it is. So menu item IT, UCSB organization IT, recommendation request IT, those are the integration tests. Web IT is the web integration test or the end-to-end test. And we're going to again start with the restaurant as the model. I believe that this is also a typo. This should say use the examples in restaurant web IT as a model. So I'm going to pause the video for a moment and fix that real fast. All right, with that typo fixed, we are indeed going to use the examples in restaurant web IT. So let's go down. There's the web directory, and there is a restaurant web IT integration test. We're going to copy that, and we're going to rename it to commits web IT. And get rid of the word copy there. First, change our class name for sure. And let's just look at this first test. We have two tests in here. The first one says admin user can create, edit, delete, and not restaurant, but commits. And what we're going to do in this is we're going to try to create and then edit and then delete. So let's, this first setup user is admin true, is going to get us logged in. Page get by text restaurants. What we're going to do is look for commits, and this is going to look for commits on the user interface. So when you write one of these integration tests, of these, at least these end-to-end web tests, it's helpful to actually bring up Maven Spring Boot Run. So let's do that. Let's bring up Maven Spring Boot Run, and let's, in a separate window here, go into front end and do nvm use 2017-0 and npm start. And the reason I'm doing this is we want to think like a user when we're writing these tests. We're actually going through and step by step doing what a user would do. First thing a user does is log in. And, oh, the OAuth client was not found. All right, I guess I don't have this repo set up with the .env file necessary. I will pause the video momentarily while I get that set up. All right, got the .env file set up. So now we are able to log in. And now that I am logged in, you can see that clicking on commits is the next thing I would do. But let's come back over to the test. Setup user is how we do the logging in. So that's taken care of. Then page.getByText commits click. What that's doing is assuming that this is on the screen, commits, it clicks on it. So what's the next thing we do? After I click on commits, I'm going to click on create commit. And indeed, it says create restaurant, except I want to click on create commit. And then I'm going to assert after I click create commit that the page I land on has create new commit, because it should, right? There's create new commit, and then message URL, author, and commit time. Need to fill all of these in. So here is where I have some choices. Page.getByTestID If I right click and inspect, I can look and see that data test ID says commit form hyphen message. I don't know if how easy that will be to see on the video, but if I make that a little bit bigger, you can see that right clicking and doing inspect reveals the HTML over here in this window, and I can find the data test ID. But a even better way to do that is to get by the label text. So let me show you that. If I come over here and say, instead of get by test ID, get by label, and then my text here would be message, URL, author login, and commit time in UTC. And I'm going to fill this one with, yeah, this is a commit message. That's good. PC, this is a commit message. Get by test ID, let's go with URL. And I will go over to my commits here, and let's actually get a nice URL. There's a URL. And I want to be in commits web IT. There we go. So let's replace build your own burrito chain with that URL. This I'm going to do, and again, get by label instead of get by test ID. And then we'll get by label here. And what we're getting by label is commit time. And here it's going to be a little tricky because we want to fill that with a commit time, but without the Z on it. And this may or may not work for us. We may find that we need to do something else with these date pickers. There's some information about that in the lab instructions, but we'll try it first and see what happens. And then instead of commit time, I'm sorry, that was author login. This is commit time in UTC. So this author login should be something like P. Conrad. There we go. All right, so we filled all of this in. Now we want to assert that the description, let's see, not quite sure why this is here. Oh, maybe it is because we need to actually, yeah, there we go. Commit form dot submit click. That's it. That's the part that was missing. And we could probably do get by text and let that be the create button. And that's actually a pretty good, that's pretty good so far. Let's actually go ahead and comment out the rest of this test for now. And let's see if we can even get this far. Once I click the create button, if I were to fill this in with, PC, this is a test, and just fill in some stuff here so that we can get this done, click create. What we would want to see is that on the page, that this field right here, PC, this is a test, that this all appears on the page, right? So let's assert that page get by test ID has text. And instead of get by test ID, maybe what we do is, well, actually, no. I think in this case, get by test ID probably is the right way to go. What we're doing is we're looking to see if, and if I go here, inspect, get by test ID, the test ID is, again, let's get this, clean this up a little bit. So oh, no, that got rid of it. I don't want that. I just want how can I get rid of this? There we go. That's what I wanted to do. So I want you to see that as I hover over these in this window, I hover over these in the HTML and see what these data test IDs are. They correspond to the cells in the table. So if I want to find that message, that's the test ID I would look for. So coming back to my code, if I fill in this test ID right here, I'm looking for the text that I put into the message. So it should be this text right here. So that's a pretty good start. Let's see if just that will run. And we're going to come out this test as well. And I should be able to come over here and it's not a good idea to try to run integration tests while you have the backend actually running. So let's take that off. And hopefully if I scroll back through here, I have, all right, there is the command for running the integration tests. But in this case, it's going to be commits web IT. And we'll run this and see what we get. All right, looks like some kind of error took place here. So that is slightly concerning. Let's run this again. I'm going to Control C it. And this time we're going to say headless equals false, because that should show us the browser and show us what's going on. We'll give that a moment. All right, there's the browser. And it appears that the login didn't quite work. What should have happened here is that this login and password should have gotten us logged in, but it did not. So let's see if we can figure out why. Yeah, username and password are currently ignored when using WireMock. So for some reason that did not work. So looking at this, you can see that there was a timeout. It took 30 seconds to look for this text commits, never got it, and that's why this timed out. And the problem was apparently with this thing called WireMock. So what WireMock is supposed to do is when we are running in integration test mode, instead of actually logging in through OAuth, we have a kind of a mock login page, and that seems to have failed for some reason. So let's see if we can figure out why that is the case. All right, well, here's something I discovered, which is that when you run this, it is best to do Maven clean test compile fail-safe integration test each time, because that will, I think, probably reset the database each time, which is going to be helpful because we're using the database migrations. That's something that was not true last time we did this assignment. So trying this again, because I got a slightly different error this time. This time it did get me logged in. And we will wait and see what happens this time around. And while we are waiting on that, just go over the code again. We're logging in, looking for the commits on the main menu, clicking create commit, or rather, yeah, clicking create commit, and then asserting that we're on the create commit page, filling in message URL, author login, and commit time in UTC, and then clicking create. It could be that this get by label approach is maybe not the best approach. Maybe we should fall back on the get by test ID, but let's see. We're heading on down here, and here is logging in. And you can see that it did, it goes by real fast, but it did get to a certain place. And it looks like it was this commit time in UTC, locate a resolve to input commit time, attempting fill action. And this is where we ran into the trouble, trying to fill this in. So that actually tracks with what we saw before, which is that if we look in the, here it says that if your front-end form contains a date picker, you may have trouble selecting a date. If you can figure out how to do it with playwright actions, great. If not, you can try to do something similar to the integration test, where you save something to the database using the repository directly. So let's try both approaches. First, I'm going to take the second approach where we just save something to the database directly. And what that means is we're going to, in this particular test, because we've got the date picker there, we're going to bypass the step of creating a commit. We are going to click on the commits page. We are going to, but then we're not going to create a commit. What we will do is before we get into the page even, we're going to set up a commit in the database, just like we did in our previous test. So in our previous integration test, we set up a commit, and we'll do that here. We'll do that here before we even get into repository. That is misspelled. How did that even work over here then? I guess, it was misspelled in both places. Repository. Let's fix that in both places. Repository. If we're going to do that, we are going to need the auto wired for the commit repository. So let's see if we can add that into our class here at the top. Hopefully that will work. So now we've got this set up, and instead of creating, what we are going to do is we are going to assert that the page that we get on has, if I go back over and once again do Maven Spring Boot run and npm start, we're going to test that the edit and the delete works. And then we'll come back and separately see if we can figure out how to test that the create works. So hopefully now we have this running on localhost. We do. So if we log in, and we can go to commits. And the idea is that if we've already created a commit, this is a commit, and let me get a genuine URL that we can paste in there. There is a URL. So let me just get everything off that's not part of the URL. There's the URL, author login, Conrad, and we'll put a commit time in there. Okay, so the idea is that if we create that commit in the database before we arrive at this page, then we should be able to use our get by test ID. So the test ID on this message field right here is this. And if I copy that and come back to my code, I should be able, let's see, commits web IT, here we go. I should be able to use this get by test ID, and this should have the text, and the text should be the message field. So let's put that assert in there here. And this message field right here What, no, undo, okay. I hate when that happens. So that's what we want for the message field. And I think I'm going to factor this out into a variable just to make it easier. So there we go. We'll call that message one. We don't need a message builder. We'll just say message one equals this string plus that string. There we go. And we'll stick that in here. Message one. And this is actually just a string. So that is our message. And then we want to assert that this has text message. Now that data test ID is looking, oh, I see the problem. Oops, again, we don't want data test ID in there. We just want the test ID itself. So there, that looks better. All right, so now we're asserting, and is that called, it's called message one. So let's call this one message one. We're asserting that the message that we put into the database is showing up on the index page, and therefore then we should be able to edit it and or delete it. In fact, let's just try deleting it. And that would be get by test ID. It's probably just going to be commit table, cell row 0, column delete button, click it. And then we would want to see that column message is not visible. So what we're testing is that when you have something in the database, it shows up on the page, and when you click the delete button, it goes away. That's what we're testing. So let's give that a try. Close this down, run this test again. While this is running, we can take a look at this next test. This next test, we're going to set up a user that is admin false. So you can see here, we set up a user with isAdmin true. We're going to set up a user with isAdmin false. We're going to click on not the restaurants page, but the commits page. And we're going to assert that create commits is not visible. And I think that's really all we need to assert in that case. So we can probably go ahead and uncomment that. I think that one's ready to go, except this should say commits. Yeah. All right, we're running through the tests here. And it's opening this up and running both tests, and they have both passed. So that would be sufficient to get full credit for the assignment. So let's just review what we've done. We have put a record in the database. We've checked that when you log in, go to the commits page, that record shows up on the index page, that when you hit the delete button works, and then that goes away. And we've seen that if you are an admin and you go to the commits page, the create commits button is not visible. We should probably add, since we didn't have a test up here where we were actually building a commit, let's add a test here when this is true, that the create commits is visible. So let's say admin user can see create commit button. So that'll be one more test that we can add. Let's give that a try. And then I might make a separate video in which I look into how to deal with date pickers, because that is definitely something that affects a lot of, there's a lot of functionality in our various apps that does use date pickers. So we would like that to work properly. But for the purposes of the assignment, what we have here should be good enough. Hopefully this third end-to-end test will work, and we'll give you the idea of how these go. So again, the idea of the end-to-end test is that we are thinking like an end user and interacting with the application the way an end user would. We wrote ours in Java code. The framework we're using is called Playwright. You can also write Playwright tests in JavaScript and in probably a number of other languages as well. Reason we use Java is that it gives us the ability to directly interact with the database as we did in that one test. All right, here's our 3 tests. We logged in and, oh, interesting. I think that one might fail, and it might be because we needed to clean the database first, but let's see. All right, yes, so we did get a timeout. Admin user can see create commit button. Locator expected to be visible. Create commits. I think actually the problem is that I don't think that's what shows up on the screen. Let's fire up the app again. And this is something you always want to check is your test actually correct? I mean, sometimes if it fails, it might be because, well, you just wrote the test wrong. All right, so we've got the back end. There we go. Let's go to commits. It's not create commits, it's create commit. That would do it. Let's go back into our test and change that to create commit. And we will run one more time. So again, Maven clean, test compile. I will try, no, actually, no, I'm not going to try it. I'm just going to go with that, clean test compile. All right, let's see if it works this time. And as you can see, as compared to running unit tests, running end-to-end tests is a bit more tedious. It's a bit more tedious to set them up, a bit more tedious to actually wait for them to pass. They take longer, but the advantage is that they are testing the application in the way that an end user would test the application, and they're testing the things that an end user cares about. So that is the trade-off. All right, almost there. And now we're running the tests. Okay, here we go. Log in. And there they are. Okay, so that is going to wrap. That's going to be a wrap for this video, except for the fact that we still do want to do a commit. So we'll do a get add dot get status. We did fix one typo in the commits IT. So in our commit message, we'll say add end to end tests for commits and fix one typo in integration tests for commits. Get push, origin, PC commits end-to-end tests. And we'll open a pull request. So closes number end-to-end test for commits. And this PR, we add end-to-end test for commits. And a regular pull request for this. And this is ready for review. We'll take a look at it ourselves real fast to make sure that it looks reasonable, and I think it does. So yeah, just looking through, making sure we didn't leave in any commented out code or commented out tests. So that pull request, I will go and ask for some reviewers. There's folks on my team, and we are ready then to drag that on the Kanban board into in review. I type in my GitHub ID, I see all of my work is in the in review column, and that's good. All right, so we will end the video here, and I will look into how you can make whether it's possible to write an end-to-end test for the date pickers we're using. I'm sure it is possible, just figuring out how to do it is the thing. And if I can figure it out, I will make a video that illustrates that technique. But for now, that's it for Team 03. Thanks for watching.